o'clock, so we'll begin the meeting. Prynhawn da a chroeso I chi gyd I gyfarfod Craffu Addysg Sgiliau a Lles. Good afternoon and welcome to this hybrid meeting of Education, Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee on the 25th of July 2024. I am Councillor Rebecca Phillips and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we move on to the next agenda item, please note that this meeting will be recorded. Please can you ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting? Can members and officers who are present in the chamber please use their microphones when speaking? When asked to raise your hand, can members who are virtually viewing this meeting raise your electronic hand? Members who are in the chamber, please raise your physical hand. Alison, can you please confirm who's in the chamber with us this afternoon?
Yes, Chair. We have co-opted member Marie Caddick. We have committee members Councillor Sonia Reynolds and Councillor Lauren Hurd. We have cabinet members Nia Jenkins, Ken Phillips and Jeremy Hurley. And we've also got officers Kerry Morris, Kelvin Davis, Andrew Thomas, Carly Davis, Charlotte Cole.
Diolch yn fawr, Alison. We will now move on to agenda item number 2, declarations of interests. Are there any declarations of interest? Please can members indicate now. Okay, agenda item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. You will see the minutes attached at pages 5 to 12 of your agenda packs. If you feel these minutes are an accurate record of the meeting, can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
Happy to propose, Chair.
And Councillor Reynolds a second. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that these minutes are approved. Diolch.
I can see no indications to the contrary, Chair, so the minutes are approved.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, annual report. The report is on pages 13 to 30 of your agenda pack. This report highlights the work undertaken by the committee in 2023-24. Do members have any questions on the report, please?
I can't see any indications, Chair.
Okay, the recommendations are listed on page 14 of the agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Councillor Rogers.
Happy to second, Chair.
And Councillor, thank you very much. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is approved.
I can see no indications to the contrary, Chair, so the recommendation is approved.
Diolch yn fawr. Moving on to agenda item 5, to consider items from the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. We will now move to consider the reports as selected by the committee for consideration. Agenda item 5A, the Cross Community Centre, pages 31 to 59 of your reports pack. Cabinet members and officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report? Councillor Ken Phillips, please. Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. This report is just an internal administrative process, really, to transfer ownership of the building between sections within the council so that its future can be determined. A further report on the future will be brought forward in due course. It's not asking for permission to close the building, since it's already been closed on health and safety grounds, and we had no choice in that matter. And the former occupants have already been redistributed to other facilities. It's simply about putting the now empty building into the right hands within the council to enable its future to be decided. Thank you, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Officer, do you have anything to add? No. Thank you very much. We did have a question from pre-briefing, so if you could have Councillor Reynolds, please. Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder if you could let me know, Ken. I know it's just an administrative report and I understand the situation. However, this committee, and this isn't just something that's relevant to education and leisure either, it's about leased out buildings, but we have quite a lot of community centres that are leased out because that was a decision made a while back, not that I argue with that, but it does mean that the leasee is responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the building. Many organisations, third sector organisations are struggling, or small groups struggling to deal with that. So money's tight. who is responsible for monitoring the upkeep of these buildings? Who's responsible for keeping an eye on that and making sure that the lease is being adhered to?
The community centres that were outsourced are on full repair and maintenance leases, so the obligation to manage and monitor those falls to the tenant themselves. I don't know if
Sonia, what Councillor Phillips said is exactly right. But I think corporately, if you like, from a sort of professional point of view, the responsible body for all our buildings is colleagues within our Environment Directorate. But I don't think it's fair to assume that they've got the capacity to check, regular, inspect, etc. Which is why when these community buildings were leased at the time, the recommendation was that it was a full repair and insurance lease, and it was just for that purpose, really, because there isn't the capacity within the local authority to do the checks, etc. So, as I say, what Councillor Phillips said is exactly right. I suppose the directorate, which is responsible for all our corporate buildings, is the Environment Directorate. But I'd be misleading you, I think, if I said that they've got the capacity to go and inspect and look at all these. We do from a condition point of view, a physical condition point of view for our own buildings. But if they've been leased out, then that isn't happening currently. So that's an issue that you and I have discussed previously. I know.
Thank you both. But it's also the fact that we give a 95% grant to the organisation that's leasing these out. Are we looking to recover any of that because the building hasn't been maintained?
There's the lease that has already been terminated on that building. There's really no scope for grant for any recovery because the business that was running it is effectively bankrupt. Thank
you. But it would be something we would perhaps look to do. I think organisations and bodies. I'm involved with one, so I know it's hard on them. But have to be aware of the fact that they've taken on a full care and repair lease, and these are our assets. They're public assets, and what I'm concerned about going forward is I know that was a well-used facility. I know you've found places for the main tenants, but it was used a lot during, for Ukrainian refugees and by the lacs and others. Is there adequate other space within the Pontardawe area, within the valley?
That's not really sort of directly relevant to this report, but just within the leisure services, we have the Arts Centre, the Leisure Centre and the library, and all of them have available space that can be booked. The Heritage Centre, which is very close to the cross, also has great spaces available, and I understand that there's also town community council facilities in the area, so there's no shortage of local bookable space.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, and I suppose in many ways the most important part of this was that when we understood there was a significant issue in there in terms of the building condition, we were able to find new homes for the tenants, within days. So I don't think there was any sort of cessation of their trade-in. I think the users that you've just mentioned, I think, are absolutely valid, but I don't think many of those were using it on a regular basis. There was a lot of ad hoc use. But actually there was quite a limited use on a regular basis, which has probably contributed to the financial situation, which then leads to the building maintenance issues not being resolved in a timely way. So we were able to find new homes for the tenants very, very quickly.
Thank you. Councillor Hurley, would you like to come in, please?
Yeah, it was just an additional thing as well. I know that we did allocate SPF money specifically for the community buildings leased for those leases to come in to, obviously, for funding for building repairs and building modifications. And I think we've seen a couple coming through the Environment works. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have. I know there's a few buildings that have picked up on it, so perhaps the only thing we can do is perhaps make it better knowledge to the lessees that there is funding available, perhaps to help them to keep the condition of the building up to standard. Thank you.
Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. Do we have any further questions on this matter, please? No, I don't see any. The recommendations listed on page 32 of your agenda packs. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Councillor Rogers, and a seconder, please.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Reynolds. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is supported.
I can't see any indications to the contrary, Chair, so the recommendation is supported.
Thank you very much. Diolch. Agenda item 5B, the Draft Air Quality Action Plan. Can I hand over to Kelvin Davis for a verbal update, please? Diolch.
Chair, perhaps I'll come in and just say a few words for the moment, because there has been some sort of recent changes in terms of the timetable for this particular report. So I will provide sort of an update for members now in terms of what's been agreed and how and the timescales for scrutiny and consideration by Cabinet of this particular item. I'll then pass across to Kelvin Davis, who's the General Environmental Health Manager, who'll give members just a brief update of what the report will set out, so that members will know what to expect at the next meeting. The intention had been to be in a position to issue the report in advance of this particular scrutiny committee meeting. And I know Kelvin and the team and the appointed consultants had been working hard with that aim in mind, but we just didn't quite make it in terms of the report being prepared. So what's been agreed is that the Cabinet consideration of this particular report will be moved to the 2nd of October meeting, which will then enable this particular scrutiny committee meeting, which I think the next meeting, I believe, is on the 12th of September. I'm happy to be corrected if that's not right. So that members of this committee then will have the appropriate opportunity to scrutinise the report before Cabinet make any decision. So I just wanted to clarify that for members, because, as I said, the intention was to bring a report to this particular meeting. But if I hand over to Kelvin at this point, he can perhaps give members a sort of a brief summary of what the report will set out. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. So the report that we'll be bringing will be titled a Draft Air Quality Action Plan, and the reason that it is draft is because that's where we are with it as part of our process for agreeing the final action plan. So what the legislation and guidance requires us as a local authority to do is to produce these action plans where we have a local air quality management area. So the air quality management area that we have in Neath Talbot is in the Taibach Margam area, which has been in place since 2000, and is in place to deal with particulate matter, which is called PM10. So that plan and the process needs to be reviewed periodically. It tends to be an action plan for a number of years. The previous action plan was from 2012 to 2024, so this year. And then, as part of agreeing the actions which are proposed, we are required to produce a draft action plan for consultation. And the report that we will be bringing to Cabinet is asking members to agree officers to go to consultation and engagement on the draft. So the draft plan has been produced by our air quality consultants that we employ in Neath Talbot, which are called Ricardo, and they do all of the analysis and the annual data reviews for air quality. So we've used them for a little while, but it will be a technical appendix to the report, which will contain the air quality priorities at the national level. It'll set out the local context for Talbot and the air quality management area that we have, and then what we've already done as part of this process is we've set up a steering group, which are based of members which have an interest in this area, tend to be professional interests. So like the local health board, highways section, natural resources Wales, public health Wales. So they've already contributed to the development of this draft action plan as it is now. But as part of the consultation process that we will be going into, that steering group will be reconsulted and we will get their formal comments back along with other consultees. So if the Scrutiny wanted to be part of that process and wanted to give some formal consultations and responses to the draft plan, then there is an opportunity to do that as part of the engagement and consultation process. So what I intend to bring to the 12th of September scrutiny will be a bit of a summary around what I've just said and a bit about the legislative context, and then I will be sort of asking or just highlighting what we will be asking Cabinet to sort of consider a note. So that will be in your covering report, and then I will attach the draft action plan as it is now, which would be the same action plan that Cabinet will be getting and receiving on the 2nd of October. So that's the verbal update that I've got.
Great, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr, and thank you to everyone that's working on that report. I know it can't be easy, and we're looking forward to seeing the draft report in its entirety. Do members have any questions, please? Oh, Councillor Rogers, please. Diolch.
Just get my mic on. Sorry, sorry, listening. I know it's all about the plan and things like that. I'd like to ask a specific question at this moment. I realise that I might not be able to get the answer at this point. A couple of my residents picked up on a news report a couple of weeks ago about these 50-mile-an-hour zones on the motorways. And it showed that in some parts of England, it hadn't made any difference at all to the pollution levels, and that they had actually removed the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. Now, obviously, they put in a bit of pressure on me to say, well, we've had the extension down to Sundarcy from Talbot up. What difference has it made? And I'm in a difficult thing, but I don't have the answers. Would we have the answer available, or where would I be able to get it, please?
Yeah, that the 50-mile-an-hour restriction on the M4 were imposed by Welsh Government. So they have definitely done a lot of work around the evidence which resulted in them imposing this speed limit, and it was primarily for an air quality reason. I know that there have been reports undertaken and technical reports by air quality consultants into the implementation and the effect of them, but I'm not too sure whether they have been published as yet. There's definitely information that's in the public domain on the Welsh Government's website around this. So maybe I could signpost that to Councillor Rogers, but it's certainly an area of interest from us as a local air quality perspective. So the local authority doesn't have much input into the M4 because it is a Welsh Government matter, but we are interested certainly in the pollution or the alleged pollution effects from the M4 in the communities around the motorway. So we have been doing some monitoring with some of these low-cost sensors, air quality sensors. We are due to do some review of that exercise. However, some of the sensors that we have used haven't been that reliable in terms of data capture, but we believe we're able to do some analysis in that area. So it is part of our plan for this year, which we have received Welsh Government grant money for, is to do a review of it's called a nitrogen dioxide diffusion tube study. So it's specifically measuring that pollutant, which is what the speed limit was for, in the communities directly adjacent to there. So they are these physical diffusion tubes that we will be placing out and then doing a 12-month study on them. So there won't be any real-time data that we can have like we have got at some of our other air quality monitoring stations. But we certainly should have something within the next sort of 18 months to sort of provide some commentary on, and we'll definitely feed that back to Welsh Government.
Hey, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for that. Not that I'm in favour of getting rid of it. It's nice to be able to bat off a few questions when I'm asked about it. Just have a little bit of ammunition to fight people off when they see these new things, and then they come on to you and ask them, what about this? Can we have ours removed? And obviously I didn't have the answer, so it'd be nice. Any information I'd be gratefully received from you.
Yeah, just one final point from me, and it's a bit of a plea, really. The report itself, when members do have sight of it, it is a very technical report. So if members do have any questions when they have sight of that report, it would be very useful for us as officers if members could send those through to us in advance of this next scrutiny committee meeting, so that we can ensure that we've got the information ready, so that we can answer those questions appropriately. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. So if there aren't any other questions on that item, we'll move on with the agenda. Agenda item 5C, events and festivals reviews. Cabinet members and officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report? Councillor Phillips, please.
Thank you, Chair. Our new culture and tourism strategies identify attracting and encouraging events as a key priority for Neath Talbot for the community, wellbeing and economic effects they bring. This report sets out the way forward in managing those events from a council point of view, together with setting up of an events team and film office on a spend to save basis to help enable and support events, and also ultimately generate income for the council. It's linked to, but separate from, the events strategy, which is currently in development, which will set out our ambitions and strategies around generating events, and will be presented in due course. This events policy is around their day-to-day management and about creating a team to provide support and expertise to event organisers. The review of current arrangements highlighted that there's an emphasis on compliance rather than assistance, and the implementation of this policy and creation of the team should shift that balance so that we can encourage and support events and their organisers across the borough, and in combination with that future events strategy, encourage the growth of a vibrant and thriving events programme for residents and visitors alike. Thank you, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Officers, have you anything to add? Okay, so we move on to questions on this item. We've already had some indications in pre-briefing. So, Councillor Rogers, please. Diolch.
I'm back in again. Oh, not too bad. Getting on my own way today. Can I welcome this decision if we pass it through? Because just to let you know, I organised through a small community organisation, a fete in Cardickston. I know as a council, we all want to promote community cohesion and try and get as many events up and running. The way things are currently set up, there's a perception, and I think it's quite justified, that things are done actually to discourage people from running things. This year, my secretary resigned last year because every time she's sending something off, somebody else asks her for something else. My question is that when this group are set up, will it be a one-stop shop for everything? In other words, will that organisation arrange the licences and everything, or will we still have to go to different parts of the council in order to get the go-ahead for everything? And on another note, I note that from now on there'll be a charge. We understand that, but the charge ranges from £25 up to £100. Now, to put it into context, I ran the fete last year and we made £400. So that would be a quarter or 25% of our actual total take for that event, and we're hoping to use money to plough back into community things, to improve things within Cardickston. So it's really taken away a quarter of that money. So two questions there, please. Thank you.
In the first question, in terms of coordinating licenses and so on, the team will coordinate the event paperwork and internal council permissions. They won't manage the applications for statutory instruments like premises license and so on, but they will be there to signpost event organisers to the relevant officers and departments. So it should be a lot less confusing for organisations, for organisers. They should be able to, it'll be a one-stop advice shop, even if they don't do all of the functions themselves. In terms of the second question about the charges, the suggested charges are quite modest for smaller events, taking on board what you say in terms of, it being seeming like a fee to a very small event, but they're necessary to help cover the costs of the service. Should also ensure people think before taking up a lot of officers' time with event applications, because we have had instances of officers spending a lot of time on events that ultimately don't go ahead, and that's obviously a cost to us. Around 80% of the applications received by the team will be from small event organisers, and that takes up a lot of staff time. We're very keen to encourage community events, again, taking on board that it hasn't seemed that way in the way things have been organised in the past. But we do need to recover some of our costs in supporting them so we can continue to provide that good level of support. I do think they'll see the benefit of the service that the events team provide them. And, they are very small fees for very small events. And I think that will represent value for money for organisers in terms of what it enables them to do and the support it gives them. The fees for larger events have been deliberately left flexible to make sure that we can set commercial fees where applicable. Thank you, Chair.
Can I come back? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Ken. That's exactly what I was after, really. Obviously, what we want to try and do is bear in mind if it's a reasonably small event, then obviously, hopefully, that £25 to £100 will be on a sliding scale and match that. That's what we're hoping for. I think they were hoping for a fixed fee, but I think 100's too much. If we were paying 25, then fair enough. But it depends. We don't want to get to a point where it gets so high that it discourages you from actually running it, and just bear that in mind as well. But thank you for your answer, Ken. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Councillor Phillips, please.
Yeah, absolutely agree. We'll take that on board. Certainly, we don't want to discourage anyone. I don't know if perhaps Carly can give some more information on the fees system.
Yes, certainly. So the starting fee would be £25 for events without any commercial angle to them. And where it becomes commercial is when there's more than 30 or a third of traders or stalls in that event, for example, which are trading commercially. So the majority of community events are likely to fall into that £25 threshold, which is a nominal fee and more of a commitment from the event organiser to take the process seriously, because a lot of time does get spent from our analysis. A lot of time does get spent and which is wasted because event organisers get to a point where they abandon the process. But the emphasis will very much be on supporting event organisers, especially those in the community sector, to build their capabilities and their own experience. So we're looking at this not just as from a council perspective, but a way of building the resilience of event organisers in the community as well.
Many thanks, Carly. It's lovely to hear from you, because Victoria, actually, I think you saved her from resigning last week, because she said I've been speaking to Carly and she sorted most of it out for me. So we are going the right way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. Councillor Nathan Goldup-John, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Rogers pretty much touched upon my question, which is absolutely fine because I'm glad it's been answered. However, I do hold some slight reservations on the response. Much from my own experience, I think a lot of councillors do set up their own community organisations and events to promote community cohesion, as Councillor Rogers said. So I think just developing on his question, would it be possible in the draft document, when it is published in the table 1, to actually set out charges, kind of how Carly has just said, if it's a third of commercial, if there's a third of businesses running at a commercial rate, then it's going to be X amount, just because on a personal basis, with our event in Skewin, £100 would just make the event completely unviable. We're not a profit-making organisation. We run it to cover our own costs. That's just to put up the tree and submit X, Y, and Z. I know I found it quite humorous, actually, reading the report itself, where it said that, and I quote, "However, they perceive highways to be inconsistent and unhelpful, putting up barriers wherever they can," as that is something I've similarly experienced during setting up the events myself. So that's kind of on a tangent. My point being is can we provide more clarity to smaller organisations on how much it's going to cost? Because then they can factor that in throughout the whole year of their fundraising, rather than just saying between £25 and £100, if possible. But I really endorse the document in its entirety, and it's very good. So thank you for that.
Thank you for your question. I can confirm the report does already state that events are classed as commercial when more than 33% of the undertaking is classed as of a commercial nature, so trading.
Can I come back on that?
Yes.
Okay. Apologies about that then, Carly. However, can we make that clear in the table as well? Because I would be under the impression that community, charity and non-profit events in Table 1 and commercial profit-making events read very similarly, and maybe I'm just not in tune with the way these documents are written. But if I'm not in tune, it might be easy for other community organisers not to be in tune with what it's stated, and again, putting up barriers to things that realistically we just want people to enjoy, and have fun. So I just want it to be clear. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not clear already, or I'm getting myself in a spiral now, and I think everyone's doing a good job. I just want it to be clear for everyone. That's all I'm saying.
Andrew, please.
Yeah, thank you. We will endeavour to make sure that we'll have a look at that table and make sure that the fees and charges are as clear as possible. So yeah, I think we can pick that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Councillor Phillips, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to, in terms of the last point about there being, the barriers and the highways issues and so on. This is very much about removing those barriers as far as possible and helping people to get past what barriers there are. And in terms of the charges, yeah, we'll try to make that as clear as possible. But I do think people will feel that they've had a good service from the team for the charge that is made for them. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. Are there any further questions from members, please? Councillor Reynolds, diolch.
Thank you. I've just, listening to all of that, it's really interesting, and we do want to encourage more festivals and events, and we do, want to develop that community cohesion. And one of the things that strikes me is, living and working in a place where there's very little council land that you run a festival on. It's got to be done elsewhere. Suddenly occurred to me, of course, that if we did decide to close a street, would this team link into that? Would that be counted as part of there? So if we wanted to close a major road, or not a major road, but a road within the community for an event or to link things up, would that be counted as part of their remit, given that council's highways and?
Yeah, if I can come in there, if that's all right. So this team, as noted previously by Councillor Phillips, we would act as kind of the referrers. So we'd be the one-stop reference shop, if you like, where we would then try and liaise with highways alongside the event organiser to come to a solution for anything like that, for street closures. They wouldn't have to necessarily go directly to highways, other than where statutory permissions are required. We would always try and look at alternatives to closing the street in the first instance, because it's expensive and it can aggravate the local community in a lot of the instances, but we will help to navigate that process, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've just got a quick question on page 105 regarding Remembrance Day. Just mentions the Remembrance Day parades in Neath and Port Talbot, which you've been supporting since last year. I'm just wondering if we're going to include Pontardawe in this as a town centre also.
The issue with the Remembrance Day parades caused a couple of years ago when the British Legion stopped insuring members to organise them. The council stepped in last year to ensure parades still happened, and the plan is to ask the new events team, when formed, to help management. To help manage them. I think the short answer to the question of whether they will be helping with Remembrance Day parades is yes. In terms of the Pontardawe specific question, it's certainly something that I would imagine that the team would be looking at. I don't know if Carly's got more detail.
Yeah, I haven't got a background in the Remembrance parades, but as far as I'm aware, the council took on the Neath and Port Talbot parades because the organisations which previously organised them were unable to carry out that undertaking. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that in the other locations there are organisations who are able to carry those forward. If there aren't, then that will need to be looked at how the team can assist in taking those forward. But we need to know a little bit more about what the issues are in those locations first.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get in touch with the team, because unfortunately the British Legion are unable to organise the parade in Pontardawe this year. So I'll certainly be in touch with the team. Thank you. Councillor Hurley, please.
No, it's just an added thing of probably making all the groups aware to get early engagement with you, because I know from several instances that I've experienced where we get an uproar where an event is going ahead and suddenly they realise they've got to get permissions, and then the council have pulled out all the stops to make sure that it goes ahead. So the easiest one is obviously early engagement, which will ease the pressure on you then. Thank you.
If I could just come in and highlight as well that the report has with it a spend to save proposal to fund staff. So whilst I'm happy to advise and help with Charlotte as well, who we've got with us currently until December, at the moment we're limited. So we don't have a team in place to help with everything. So we will have to be a little bit, we'll have to watch our time because we have other responsibilities as well, but more than happy to advise and signpost where we can.
Great, thank you. So if there are no more questions on this item, the recommendation is listed on page 62 of the agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
I'm more than happy to propose this, feeling that it's a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. And a seconder, please.
Happy to second it, Chair. Oh, there we go.
Councillor Lauren Hurd, thank you very much. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is supported.
I can see no indications to the contrary, Chair, so the recommendation is supported.
Diolch yn fawr. Moving on to part 2 of the agenda, item 6. There are no Scrutiny Committee Forward Work Programme items to be considered. Agenda item 7, there is a standing item, which is the performance monitoring. And agenda item 8, selection of items for future scrutiny. Pamela, could you give an update or anything added, please? Thank you. Diolch.
Yeah, good afternoon, members. This is the first meeting of our new scrutiny model. So this will be a standing agenda item going forward. The Cabinet Forward Work Programme and the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme are both included in the agenda pack. Chair, would you like me to share the Cabinet Forward Work Programme, or are you happy just for me to go through things?
If you could share, I think that would be helpful. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll just share that for you. This is the Cabinet Forward Work Programme for 24-25. This is changing on a weekly and sometimes daily basis. This is the latest version. So if I just go through it, members will have seen this in their agenda packs. If I just go through and point out what's new.
Oh, Pamela, we can't see anything. The screen hasn't shared. Sorry.
Right. Sorry. Bear with me 1 second. Joys of working from home. Bear with me. Can you see that?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, there we are. So I'll just go through the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. Members will have seen this in their agenda packs, and I've already had some indications of items that members would like to add to the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme. So if I just go through it, if anybody wants me to stop anywhere, please let me know. And I'll just point out the new items. So the 13th of November, there is a report on employability and skills strategy. I've been advised that this is going to be moved to a later date. So I've just highlighted that in red so members are aware. The youth engagement strategy is updated there, and members have already indicated that they'd like to pull that for scrutiny. So I go forward. The library strategy, that is a new item, and that has also been indicated that members want to pull that for scrutiny. I just want to draw members' attention that there is an item on there for the 5th of February where it's been listed as the education portfolio, but it's social services, so that will be removed. Okay. Going on to the 26th of February, the Strategic Schools Improvement Programme proposal to reorganise the ALN provision at Cwmtawi and also at Kevin Syson. Members have already indicated to me that they would like to pull those reports for scrutiny. The initial reports there in February are for the results of the consultation, and then later on in the year, I believe it's in May, they're coming back for the final considerations. So I've already noted them. 19th of March, school budget pressures. Members have already pulled that item for scrutiny, and that is on our Forward Work Programme. And then 21st of May, those are the final determinations of the proposals for the reorganisation of ALM provision. And members have indicated that they want that on the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme. So I will work with officers and the chair to slot them in appropriately. But I just wanted to check today if there's anything that any members wanted to add, any other items that they want to pull forward for consideration. Chair, would you like me to stop sharing?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you very much for that,
Thank
Pamela. Councillor Reynolds, please.
Thanks, Pam, for sharing that. The unfortunate thing is that the screens from this side of the chamber make it almost, you can't read it. So thank you, though. A couple of things. First off, would it be possible to have the tables presented differently, and perhaps the scrutiny agendas and timetables integrated with the cabinet, so that you're not flicking up and down between, rushing up pages, rushing down pages, trying to see what's where. It's almost impossible on the iPad to sort of look and do that. The item that I wanted to ask about isn't actually on the cabinet agenda, but it's in the plans for the council and has been mentioned, and that's that we would be looking forward to having a feasibility study on the Pontardawe pool. And would it be possible, please, to have an update and know where that is featuring on the agenda for cabinet?
Thank you. Andrew, please.
Yes, we can. I'll need to speak to Chris Saunders in terms of timescales. If you were to push me now in terms of, if you mean when we're likely to get a report back on it following the work, is that what you mean, Sonia?
I'm assuming normally we would know what the feasibility study was going to embrace, and we'd have the feasibility study will be undertaken, it will cost X, it will, this is the spec.
Well, the feasibility study work has been approved by Cabinet. So, the decision, if you like, has been approved. So Chris is getting on with putting the terms of reference together. So there's obviously no issue with bringing that to members for information, obviously. But I would imagine that the work would be completed by early part, or either the latter part of this calendar year or the early part of next calendar year, in terms of reporting back to members the outcome of that work. I think is probably a fair timescale.
So can that be added to an agenda, to a forward?
It will need to be, yeah, certainly, yeah.
Councillor Jenkins.
Thank you. Sorry, Ken and Andrew, not butting in on your things, only because I had an answer from Chris Saunders yesterday to a Freedom of Information query that came to me. And that's what he said was, it's been agreed by council and he's aiming to have it all completed by March 2025. So yes, as you said, it will be added to the Scrutiny forward work programme as that programme develops when more things come available. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll work with Chris on putting that onto the programme as well. Thank you. Any further questions on that, please?
We did also ask at pre-briefing, and I'll mention it again here, we have the school reorganisation, the whole programme update, not just the individual, there's some individual items coming forward to Cabinet, but we'd asked for a whole programme update to know how each area was progressing. And that's scheduled for the 16th of January. The request was to have it earlier, please, if it was possible, and possibly move it into December's meeting.
Councillor Jenkins.
Sorry, it's me again. Yes, Rhiannon Crowers did bring this up yesterday when we met briefly, and she is looking at the report and she's hoping to bring it forward in October, November. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? No, I don't see anybody. No urgent items, so I'll bring the meeting to a close. Thank you very much for everyone for the contributions. Have a lovely summer. Diolch yn fawr.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for all the answers.